I love Jurrien Timber's cameo against Wolves when he came on with about 20 minutes to play. He gave Arsenal so much to get over the line in those final 20 minutes. But what's interesting, he added it in a way that I don't think a lot of us expected. In this video, I'm going to break down what he did, how he did it, and why Mikel Arteta trusts him so much. But let's start by going into his numbers, and some of them are really impressive. In the 2-0 win, he played 22 minutes. He came on at left back for Alexander Zinchenko, and he had a pass completion of 90%, with 9 of his passes completed out of the 10 attempted. 6 carries there, as you can see, with 3 attempted take-ons. 2 of those attempted take-ons were successful take-ons, 14 touches in total, and he even managed a shot at goal that did go quite a way over the bar, but listen, he's having efforts on goal, we love to see it. You might be looking at those numbers thinking, yeah, they look pretty impressive. Lots of carries in there, very good pass completion rate. Obviously only gave the ball away once in terms of in possession. He's taking players on. We know some of those moments of skill we saw. You think that's all great. But when you look at it just like from a distance for a second, they're all attacking stats. They're the kind of stats you'd look at if you're talking about a winger or a central midfielder or a number 10, maybe even a striker. But this is interesting because we're talking about a centre-back / right-back / left-back who could play across the back four and was probably brought on to shore up the game a little bit. So I look at some of the defensive numbers, and as you can see from FBref, I've got nothing. There's nothing. It's zeros across the board, from tackles in the defensive third to interceptions to blocks to whatever it is you're looking at, clearances. He didn't make a single one of those. His defensive numbers were 0 across the board. And again, he was brought on at 2-0 up, probably to shore up the game for Zinchenko, because of course he's more defensively sturdy options than Zinchenko, and he had no defending to really do. SofaScore data backs that up. Okay, 1 ball recoveries in there. And I did look at some other data on SofaScore that told us that he did win 2 ground duels and 2 aerial duels. But again, you look at SofaScore's data for average positions, and there he is as much in the almost right half space, right inside channel, right wing position as he was at left back. And of course he did play at left back, and a lot of those moments came from corners, set pieces and circumstances, but it just showed you got into some really good attacking areas too. So why is this important? Why are we mentioning all this? And why is it kind of important in relation to the sub made for Zinchenko? Because I don't know about all of you, but when that change was made, Zinchenko came off, Timber came on. I thought, this is sensible, okay? Preserve the clean sheet, see out the game. We've actually spent a lot of the game without the ball. We actually did concede quite a lot of possession towards, especially in that second half. And you're thinking, okay, shore it up. You know, it's important that we have our best defenders out on the pitch in that moment. But it wasn't what he added out of possession, because as you can see, a lot of the defensive numbers are redundant. He didn't do anything. It's what he added in possession in terms of composure, in terms of a class, a press resistance, and I think a sort of willingness to get on the ball and settle things down that we all knew he had. But I don't think any of us thought that that substitution was with that in mind. I want to show you 2 key moments that happened in the game. This first one, you'll remember it, is Trossard throwing the ball back to Jurrien Timber in the 93rd minute. I mean, this is the composure he's showing so late in the game. And as you can see, that we're in this situation where if he loses possession, there's 5 Wolves players, let's highlight them. There's 5 Wolves players ready to go, ready to pounce. And you know what? You nick a goal in the 94th minute. There's 5 minutes of added time. You never know. It could get really nervy. But they're all ready to go. And he's got with him a few options. Really could go back to Gabriel. But you've got Saliba and White who are there too. Again, we're a little bit outnumbered in this situation. And you'll know the moment I'm referring to, because when the ball comes from Trossard, takes a touch and then turns in between 2 players. Press resistance. Breaks through the 2 players that are trying to nick the ball off Timber, and the game opens up for him. Now, in fairness, and I should say this, he ends up actually losing the ball later because he does a bit too much. But in that moment, it was terrific. I bet Arteta was loving it, especially when you can add that at 0-0 in a cagey game, maybe against some of the better teams, to open up the match and give Arsenal's midfielders a little bit more room to play, because you've invited teams on with the press, and you've taken, how many have we highlighted there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players out the game, all behind Jurrien Timber as he's running forward with the ball because he looked after it. Let's show that moment once more. The ball comes from Trossard, and then just lovely, because he just lets it come across his body a little bit, and then just a really quick turn and dash through the 2 players. It was brilliant to watch. It wasn't the only moment I loved from Jurrien Timber as well. Let's look at Timber's dribble, because what he's got here, Arsenal, of course, at this point, I think it's come from a set piece. Saka has the ball. Erdegaard's there to support. He always gets close to Saka in these situations, and we know that Ben White down that right channel would be making this overlap. Timber does it too. Saka's got the ball. Timber makes the dart, cuts in, and goes around 2 players. I'm going to try to show a little bit slower Let's have a little look at it in quarter speed. Because Timber makes the start here. Saka rolls it in. That defender goes with him, but he sells him. There you go. And then on his left foot, drags it. He does it so quickly. He's taken 2 out of the game. Again, the defender gets across, makes a recovery tackle, we win a corner. But you just saw 2 moments from him. You're thinking, you look like a winger here. You don't look like a centre-back / full-back. You're moving like a winger in that area, and you're moving like a press-resistant 6 in that area of the ball, area of the pitch that we mentioned in the 93rd minute of the game. And it's so good to see that from Jurrien Timber. It just makes me think, when you look at the attacking numbers that he put up in that 22-minute spell, and you look at the defensive numbers, which were basically nil, and of course, the eye test tells you did have some defensive moments, he did have things to do that maybe weren't quantified by stats, but it just tells that, yes, Arteta might have thought of him, coming on to sort of shore things up defensively, but a massive part of what Timber did was add some composure, add some class, and just settle things down for Arsenal. And it makes you think, well, when we're talking about inverting fullbacks or touchline wingers, he's just shown in 2 moments there, he can do both. You need me to invert and get us playing, I can do that. You need me to show some quality, some pace, some drive out on the wing, out in wide areas, I'll give you that too. This might be one of the most complete defenders in the league, certainly from an attacking perspective, and I'm so excited to see what Arteta does with him. But in terms of how he uses him as well, and not so much just the positions, but actually the amount he does. I think this cameo was so encouraging, not just because of what he did, but the fact that he was used at all. And we'll take it back to what Arteta said around the end of July, where he said, we're going to have to manage him, this is Jurrien Timber, in the next few weeks, especially because the load he has been able to do in the last few months compared to the next 2 weeks is very different. But we are very excited. He is a leader, he loves to be on show, and a big presence in everything that we do. Highlight everything, not just a good defensive outlet, not just someone who can give us something different at fullback, centre-back, in every phase of play. I think you saw that even in a 22-minute cameo. But what I love about that, and the reason I bring this quote up, is they're talking about managing him. Now you've got to think, we're going to the last 20 minutes of a game against Wolves, opening day of the Premier League. We're only 2-0 up. We're not 4-0 up and cruising. And he could have turned to Ricardo Calafiori, just signed him for £42 million, just played the Euros but didn't go too far in it, and could play left-back, centre-back. That might have been the option to go with. But the fact he turned to Jurrien Timber is super encouraging for a few reasons. A, it shows that he trusts him in all phases of the game. I think that's a big thing. And of course, we haven't seen that much of Timber, but the trust is absolutely there. It also tells us that his knee is fine. I know I mentioned that quote where they're talking about managing him and getting him through those next few weeks. Remember, he didn't play the last 3 games of pre-season against Liverpool, Lyon and Leverkusen. He played the Bournemouth and Man United games, which were obviously a lot earlier in pre-season, so he's maybe not quite got up to speed. But look at him, ready to go, and his knee looks absolutely fine. And I also wonder whether this was about giving him some minutes ahead of Star Team against Villa, where of course they play with the left foot and Leon Bailey, who's been in great form in 2024. Is Timber actually an option you use in that area? Being right-footed, might match up really well, but also isn't a, he's not a compromise on what we've been doing with Zinchenko inverting and getting into those really good areas of the pitch and controlling the games the way we have been. So that makes me wonder that too. I think this cameo was super encouraging in many ways. The fact he even got an appearance, the way he played, and what it might mean for Arsenal's upcoming games as well. Great to see. Well done, Jurrien Timber. It wasn't all perfect, of course. There were moments where you thought maybe he's overcooked it here, maybe he could have done a little bit better there. But this is a guy who in 22 minutes performed like that, did all that, and gave us a highlight reel in a game where we were sort of pretty comfortably leading. It was really impressive. I can't wait to see more of this guy. Let me know your thoughts on Jurrien Timber in the comments section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I really encourage you all to go watch the latest Goonerverse podcast where me, Nick and Sharoy discussed everything Arsenal could do tactically better to go ahead and win the league, because it's looking like this season could be the year that we do it. Many thanks everyone. Catch you soon.